Hello guys, it's the 11th of February 2023. I was left alone in the flat, so I've decided to record this part on Saturday rather than Sunday, as I woke up in a pretty good mood. So another week has passed, which means another square gets crossed out. Let me do this. We have to... Can I draw here? Unfortunately, this PDF file seems to be some sort of corrupted. So I was trying to make it work, but unfortunately it just it just doesn't respond on any. Or finally, let's go. Another week. Not so great, as you may see. What happened? What if I take an erase? So it erases the... So some strange things going on with my PDF file. We don't save that. Now let's get to the point. As for an overview section, the first thing I want to talk is that this part of the lib is different from others, as I've actually sat down and wrote the script for it. It should generally sound more fluently and with less pauses compared to my previous videos. As I've noticed that it's hard to track my thoughts, so I have to try to implement the upfront writing kind of thing for the lib review. Now let's proceed to the week. I don't want to move much with my cursor, so it's basically will be just you seeing this markdown file. What about the week? Though it was usual week with dozens of university classes and working hours, I have to point out that the amount of classes has rapidly increased, so I'm returning more fatigued after them. Now let's go for the thesis part. The main breakthrough here is that I finally approved my thesis team. It sounds like designing a system for risk management mitigation in software projects in a small enterprise business. Quite long one, however, it gives me a clear of direction, where to go, what are my next steps, and regarding the next steps, there should be to write missing parts of my project proposal, which are introduction, methods, and conclusion. In the previous week, I've written an abstract, and I also have literature review written, so that's basically it. Unfortunately, not so much progress here, but still better than nothing, so I guess that's okay. Now let's go for the TOEFL part. I finally managed to register for the test, and luckily enough it will be held in the test center. I was surprised actually to find out that in my country, we still have one operational TOEFL test center, as these kind of centers appear to be, just the wrong line. So yeah, I was definitely surprised to find out that we still have one operational TOEFL test center. And the reason for this surprise is that TOEFL Home appeared to be very inconsistent and kind of unstable experience. I've heard that there could be problems with your hardware, with your system, which may lead to lower grades overall, as the proctor or instructor will always pause you, interrupt you to check whether the environments are suitable and so on. For the preparation part, this week was quite a chill one. I also I wrote a single essay, and basically that's it. Nothing more was done, had been done, and I will continue my efforts for like lessens my efforts on the next week. Though I don't think they are the most effective option for preparation, but still they're better than nothing at all. That's kind of my point. That's the point, the reason to continue my lessons with the teacher. What about system? It's kind of doesn't mention it. It's kind of isn't mentioned here in these overview. Is this, how should call it, the outline? Yeah, in the outline, but a conceptual shift happened this week also. I moved my tracking system from Obsidian to Google Sheets. The reason behind that, like the main thing that I was considering, is that from now on I'll try to build a tracking system based on the activity transactions rather than other entities like tasks. So the basic unit of activity is not the task, it is not the project tied task, it's not the you've just spent time, that was the activity, you have to track it. That's it. You don't have to think whether to track this time or don't, whether it is useful or not. I've just added, so I've made the decision to kind of create these relational database where you have transactions, and transactions are connected to the so-called activity table, where I can specify activity tag, where I can specify the weight of the activity. So for example, I have an activity of watching conferences, and for example, let's say I've spent 60 minutes on doing so, and I value it as the 50% of useful work. So I'll just go multiply 60 minutes on 0.5, and we're basically getting 30 minutes of so-called useful work. But in this case, it's pure mathematics. You don't have to evaluate whether the activity was good or not, whether it was valuable. It's very hard, and generally gives you more decision fatigue. Let's move further. For the sport, got my fitness ball, and basically that's it. What happened with this part? I feels like it's a front-end chair, as it generally fits into the clown world of the front-end development. And after the 25th of February, I think I will be putting more efforts into sports, as the 25th of February is the date of my TOEFL exam. So as stated here, I will be focusing on sports after the TOEFL exam. One additional thing to consider is that from July, I was generally sitting on the chair, so my muscles are in very poor condition, which means that I have to start small and then gradually add more and more exercises to the mix. First of all, I'll try to introduce some stretching with my recently arrived fitness ball, German one. And then I'll be headed towards squatting and exercising my bigger muscle systems in general, such as the posterior chain muscle group. The motivation is pretty clear here, as I want to train my big muscles to lower overall stress levels, as they kind of, I don't know the mechanics, the underlying biomechanics there, but the thing is that you definitely end up with lower cortisol levels after the exercises on the big muscle systems. And also it helps fighting the brain fog, as I've also surprisingly find out that your leg muscles acting kind of like a pump, and they helps to pump the blood through your body. So through your body, your blood through your body. So you have to exercise these bad boys, and that's it, basically. Now let's move to the other events. Pretty decent chunk of text written here. And first of all, I've deleted the YouTube from my phone and tablet. The motivation behind this action was to lower the information consumption. As you might see, on the next week, I was feeling overwhelmed. So I decided to tackle this problem once again. It's not my first attempt. I guess it's not my last attempt also. But for now, like what differs these attempts from other attempts is that in order to substitute such tremendous drop, I've decided to plan videos in advance, watching like the videos, watching videos in advance, and then listen to them in the background using the Brave browser playlist feature. This is the way to avoid the recommendation system, which was deliberately crafted to get all of your attention, and this should help focus my like improve my focus overall. Unfortunately, as you might guess, yesterday I've installed YouTube once again and already watched a couple of C++ conferences. They weren't bad though. One of them was actually good, to be honest, but that's not what I was striving for. So I'll continue my efforts of lowering YT consumption. Now let's go for the next part, and the next part is about that I watched a talk given by Björn Straustrup about learning and teaching. I've got some pretty interesting insights about these two processes, like that you have to be focused on putting ideas into people's heads rather than flexing your knowledge or teasing your ego and so on. Another interesting thing was that actually learning must have feasible learning outcomes and clear objectives. For example, learning programming for fun and learning programming to build robust and stable, maintainable systems are a very polar tasks in their nature. And to be honest, on the example of JavaScript where you can use arrow functions everywhere, that's fun, but that's not the maintainable system overall at all, I mean. So yeah, kind of nice insights here. And then one more thing regarding learning how to program is that I've read an article about Dunning-Kruger effect, which like this curve which depicts the stages of person understanding and person confidence in his mastery, in his skills. This one was special. That one was special though, as it has mapped this effect on the learning how to program, and it has depicted several and concrete steps how to basically get through some stages of this curve. My main takeaway from this article was that currently I'm definitely in the pit of how you say that, in the pit of despair. So this not a great place to be in, though I see how I'm slowly climbing to the mastery, which I guess is pretty nice. The like how the intrinsic traits of these like part of the path is that there are not so much tutorials, not so many tutorials there that are suitable for my level. Thus, I have to focus on one thing. That's kind of the main deduction from this article. I also have to understand that this one thing has to have decent community adoption, and it has to cover like most of my needs. And the language the language which suits these parameters is the C# language. As in my opinion, it hits the nice middle ground between C++ and JavaScript and has a well-established community. And of course, I know this sounds quite absurd, but with the knowledge of C#, I will be able to evolve on the multiple platforms on the same time. These platforms are the web development, game development, and desktop development platform. C# is well presented in these in this one. Unfortunately, the main caveat here is that for me personally, I like to watch Russian courses about different programming languages, and here like in the Russian YouTube domain, it's a lack of community support for C#, as there are not so many courses from universities, not so many courses from, yeah, basically the universities, as Russian universities and big tech companies provide a nice balance, a nice understanding between complexity, depth, and ease of comprehension. So I really like Russian courses, but unfortunately for C#, there are not so many of them. I see lots of courses about Java and C++ though, but I was only able to find single course about C#. I'm currently working on this course. And of course, I still watch lots of C++ content and Java content from Russian teachers, as it gives tons of interesting information to think about, lots of insights, how the languages evolved, and kind of a nice glimpse on how to evolve in your C# domain. Unfortunately, I don't want to be neither C++ nor Java programmer in the near future. However, I still admit that these languages are based, and I will definitely try to make an attempt to learn them later in my career. But for now, I'll just focus on C#, as I think it gives the nice balance of syntactic sugar, the low-level understanding, the similarity to C and similarity to Java, and taking the good parts from both and evolving them in the CLR ecosystem. So yeah, another thing was about Yandex algorithm interview practice style, where you are not allowed to use IntelliSense and other sugar that the modern IDEs provide. I guess we have many companies that suggest to do so, but I've knew it from the Yandex practice, and that's why I've referred to as the Yandex algorithm. Of course, it could be adopted in the many big tech companies around the world. I've just haven't read the interview process in them. The main reason behind this decision is that you have to be able to evaluate code intuitively without even running it. It was the nice piece of puzzle that fits. Very nice. Thank you, Windows. That fits into my picture of programming. And it kind of resonates with my understanding of mastery in some sphere. I definitely want to master programming, solving problems, as it's very entrepreneurial and teacher stuff. Thanks, Prime Agent and Colin Gallen here, who are introduced these concepts of mastery, these concepts of burning the ideas into your brain. Very, very appreciate these two guys. Now I think that's it for today's episode. I think I failed this week in a leap sense, so we have to put the failed mark here. Let's say it will be succeed minus. Yeah, I think that's it. But I still got quite a few insights out of this week, so I'm pretty happy right now. Unfortunately, this happiness comes at the price of my current job, where I was only able to work for 28 hours. Which means I will end up with lower money overall. So yeah, not so good here. Well, that's being said, thank you for watching, and bye-bye.